All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Provoke Coach podcast. As always, I have a special guest, right? Somebody that's I've been kind of following for a while now, and it's kind of my gig. It's kind of my people. So I gravitate towards this gentleman. He also has a podcast, but he is so much further along than I am with the Provoke Coach podcast. So thank you so much, Tomas, Keenan. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today, man.
Clinton, thank you, man. I really appreciate being here, and I say this every time I come on a podcast as a guest. But I'm very grateful to be here because I get to get in front of your audience, your people, and share a little bit about my story. And hopefully, my purpose in life is to help others succeed in business. If I can help one person through today's talk, then I've won.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I kind of say this all the time. I always wish that there could be like a pre-recording to just a couple of guys like us kind of chatting about why I do my podcast, why you do yours, and you just said it, look, if we could just help one person, then boom, we've done our job, but I know that you're helping out a heck of a lot more. And really for the listeners, I know there's probably a lot of people that are your followers, that are your fans, that have followed you for a while. They kind of know maybe your story. They know your backstory. They know what you do. But there's a lot of people that are on my side that don't. They're like, all right, who's Clinton got on now? I mean, They got popcorn ready. They always know I got some high peak performer on. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit about who you are and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's clearly Thomas Keenan, originally from Long Island, New York. I just turned 42 years old last week. When I was at the ripe old age of 17, I decided I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life, and I went after it, as I just do with most things. I was blessed at a young age, and I still have this ability to just know what I want. And not a lot of people can say that. So at the age of 17, I knew that I wanted to be a custom car audio installer. And I went after that and basically did it for a long time. Struggled for many years, bumped my head against the wall, thought, hey, I'm not good at this. I should probably give up. But something inside of me just said, don't give up, keep pushing through. And I wound up becoming pretty damn good at the trade. Started my own business in it, worked for a bunch of high-end places, working on all sorts of fancy vehicles, big-name people. And at the age of 21, I decided that I knew more than my boss.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you, can I ask you a question before we get into that part of it? What really kind of drove you into that line of work? Because here's what I envision, right? Mm-hmm. Because you and I are the same age. Back in the day, it was just so badass for you to have like these 12-inch subwoofers. Like I had a pickup truck, like a Ford Ranger, and I could drop a couple of 10s back there with a decent amp, nice radio. Like this is when that shit was hot. Like, were you attracted to it then? Did you start diving in then at an early age, or?
Yeah, I guess I was about 16-ish or so when I first was exposed to it. My family, I was born in the car business. So I had an uncle who owned an auto body shop. I had another uncle who owned a used car dealership with, detailing and mechanics in the back. And I always had a love of music. I liked using my hands. I liked building things. I liked doing construction at home and, home improvement projects. And working with those guys over, I guess, my early teen years. My mom would basically say, hey, you're going to work for the summer, go see your uncle.
Right.
I'd go work with those guys. They put me to work, and I was like, all right, cool. Working on cars is okay, but I don't love mechanics. I don't love auto body. Right. Then I discovered this thing called car audio that allowed me to take several skills and several trades and combine them into one. So I had to learn electrical. I had to learn plumbing. I had to learn, carpentry. I had to learn auto body, metal work. All of that stuff came into one trade, and it was pretty cool, and that's why I liked it so damn much, because I could be very creative with it, and the finished product to me was awesome because I got to sit in the car and listen to really good music.
Right, and then totally jam out. Like now, I know that especially with a lot of the electrical work. I mean, was this all for you hands-on training? I mean, was this just dumping in with both feet, with your family, kind of on your side? I mean, this is a real trade that a lot of people pay a lot of money, to trade schools to go to. Now they have them, back then they didn't so much maybe for that particular line of work.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I mean, did they have that back
Yeah,
then, or?
so somewhat. I
Yeah,
started reading the books, reading the magazines, and then
yeah,
basically going and diving in feet first and getting my hands dirty and figuring it out. I
yeah,
got myself to a point where I knew that I didn't know anymore. I couldn't teach myself any further.
yeah,
That's when I started going out and looking for the trade schools.
yeah.
So I think I was about 19 when I hit the first trade school. Flew up and actually lived in Boston, Massachusetts for about 90 days. Went to trade school there, learned from some of the best
Nice.
in the world. Came back home, landed my first real job in the industry, working for a real high-end place, and
Yeah,
learned even more there on the job. And then again, I got to a point where I hit a plateau and said, hey, I need to go find people who are doing this at a higher level. Where do I go find
yeah,
them? And I wound up going to another trade school down in Florida. But it's funny, that whole story right there, because history repeats itself, right?
yeah,
That whole
yeah,
story repeated itself at a different point in time in my life. The difference was I had built a business to a certain point, and I was smart enough to know that I couldn't get it any further. So what do I go? What do I do?
ah,
Let me go find a coach. Cool. Well, level up, level up, level up. Well, this coach
yeah,
isn't getting me any further anymore because I've gotten what I need out of this gentleman. Not that he's a bad guy. It's time to go
sure.
find something else and level up over there. So it's funny how it started with the trades, and then it transitioned into business 20 years later.
Well, I mean, I guess talk about that for a second, because there's what a lot of people do is they get into, whether it's trade or whether they go to college for a 4-year degree and they finally get their job out of college, white picket fence, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they stay there. And they continue the 25, 30, 35, 40-year kind of mark throughout that process. What about you, I guess, and maybe metaphorically speaking, there comes a point to where you kind of max out, and you need to change things up. It's almost like your workouts, right?
Sure.
Like you get to a certain point, you adapted. I mean, did you just get kind of stir crazy a little bit? Did you reach a peak and say, screw that, I'm going for the next round? How did that all work?
A couple of things come to mind when I'm thinking about it. Number one, I'm impatient. I want things
Yeah,
done fast.
yeah,
I know that if I can get my hands on the right person who's been there, done that, experienced it, then I can compress time. And that's what
yeah,
coaching really is.
yeah,
Let me leverage the mistakes that you've made prior to me, and
yep.
you're going to help me kind of avoid some of those pitfalls. And you're probably going to give me a template of how to go ahead and get something done, so I don't have to go and reinvent the wheel.
Nice,
And that's kind of
nice.
just how I looked at it. I was smart enough to know that I didn't know it all. Let me go
Right.
find that person who's been here, done that.
Now, let's ask you, a question. You're a high performer. You've been, super successful throughout different parts of your career and still continuing to grow. What do you think, because there's an ego thing there that people have to get over, that first, I guess, initial hurdle with, you said, like, you've reached a point to where you can't extract any more information, talent, mistakes that people have made, and you know what I mean, like you're kind of, you want the cheat code and
Mhm.
you go after the cheat code, but many times that ego gets in the way for people to not reach out for help.
Yeah, it's real simple. How bad do you want it?
Yeah,
And if you
yeah,
want it bad enough, you'll be willing to push your ego aside.
yeah. Why don't people do that? Because there's a lot of stuck people, this as
Mhm.
well as
Oh
I
yeah.
do. They're stuck, and they got a hard time getting over that particular step, because once they do get over, I know for me, once I got over that and I had a real conversation with the guy in the mirror in the morning brushing his teeth, shit changed.
Hmm.
I moved. Let's go in this direction.
Yeah.
Why don't people make that move, in your
Mm.
experience, of course?
Couple things. People don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
I think outside people also speak to them and maybe put a
Mm,
little birdie in their ear. Like, you're
yep.
crazy. You're going to pay someone 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 a year to coach you. You're out of your mind. Like, you don't even make that much money a year.
Right.
There's all these, I want to call them limiting beliefs that other people may implant into your head. Hey, what's this person going to think about me spending 50 grand to have this person help me grow my business?
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, most people can't, most outsiders who don't own a small business, they cannot comprehend spending that amount of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that I spent big money on a coach. Okay. It was a $35,000 package for the year. And I mean, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But I intentionally put my back up against the wall because I know that when the pressure's on, I perform at my peak.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy that you say that, because I think there's a lot of peak performers that I talk to that have not only been on this podcast, but I coach, on a regular basis. And they have that same, it's almost like gambling. It's almost that it really is, to where you just say, you know what, put it all on red, and you're the red, right?
Yeah.
Like you're the bet. I remember when my wife finally kind of gave me the nod, like, I believe in you that much, go for it. And I was just like, shit, you do? Like, let's do this. Like, if you believe in me that much, then I'm betting it all on me. Like,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? And that's when I took the leap. That's powerful what you said. Now, when you're in this business and you've kind of come to the point to where you've kind of gone, because I know you were speaking at events, like you became a real hot shit in this industry for a very long time.
Yep.
What changed? Did you come to the max?
A couple of things. So we started transitioning. My first business, the one that I opened when I was 21, car audio, I crashed and burned that business after 5 years.
Yeah.
And the reason I crashed and burned it, the short story is, I was just a technician. I only knew how to put the crap in the cars. I didn't know anything about bookkeeping, accounting, cleaning the toilet, ordering supplies. Oh shit, we got to pay sales tax. I didn't know that. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Transitioned, went back to work for 3 years for somebody else, got myself back on my feet, because when I closed that first business, I was about $85,000 to $90,000 in personal debt. Got back on my feet, and it was September of 2009, about 2 or 3 months after I got married. My existing business partner at the time hit me up and said, hey, it's time for us to do this. And him and I had several conversations prior to that, but it just wasn't the right time. Either one of us was getting married, one of us was having a kid, one of us was buying a house. Right. And for some reason, the world said, hey, now is the time. So we took it, we cranked up this business, and we pretty quickly transitioned exclusively into GPS tracking and dash camera installs in commercial vehicles. So we took the same skill set that we were using in the car audio industry, and basically dropped it into the commercial side of the business. It was all B2B sales. Yeah. So it wasn't all this crazy high-end work, right? It wasn't working on one car for 3 months. It was now working on 10,000 cars in 3 months. It was a much shorter install process, but hey, I'm making less money per vehicle, but this is a volume game here. Right. So we got the business to a point where it was like, hey, and it's about 5 years in, we got this thing to where it is. I realized that it had a tremendous amount of potential behind it, but once again, I got it to where it is. I don't know how to get it any further. So what do? We hire that coach. And that's when things started to get good. The first coach basically said, hey, you're going to work with me, you got to read. I got to read. Come on, man. I read books since high school. I'm good. But it wasn't that I was not reading. I just wasn't reading the right stuff. Exactly. I was reading all the tech manuals. I was reading all the installation guides. You wanted to have the question answered about the vehicle. I got you. But again, I was just focusing on the wrong stuff. I was too focused as a technician still. Yeah. So started focusing and reading more about what I needed to really read about, learn more about mindset, business, really what makes things operate in the company, culture, core values. Yeah. And the damn thing just started taking off like a rocket ship. Fast forward, I wind up joining Break Free Academy, which is Apex Entourage from Ryan Stewman, right? I started as a client there. And he's got this back-end course called Building Your Machine. I start going through this course and working one-to-one with him. And in this training, it's, hey, this is how you establish yourself as the authority within your industry, your vertical, your space. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, what does that look like? Oh, write a book, start a podcast, right? Start a Facebook group, start leading others within the industry, start getting active on social media because it's a free advertising platform. When you start doing all that, you start doing it consistently, And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, now you're the authority. Now you walk into the room, I don't care what your industry is, and everyone's going, oh, hey, there's Joe Blow from industry XYZ.
Right.
Okay, I don't care
Exactly.
what it is you do. That's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think where most people fail is they expect this to happen overnight.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, how did you change hats?
Mhm.
Because that's always a big thing for anybody, whether it is a trade, right? To where maybe it is a little bit more transactional, because it sounds like, you guys went into something that was a little bit more high volume, a little bit more transactional. So you had a lot of reps, if you will, in the game a little bit. And then you shifted from industry expert, know-it-all, doctor to now running a business. How were you able to manage that? Did you take the hat literally off and hire and outsource, more technicians to cover the service end? Or did you do the opposite and hire maybe sales professionals and managers and leaders on the other end of, the spectrum? What did you do in your, in your experience?
So yeah, tactical version of it, I started figuring out what my time was worth.
Yep.
And I realized that the amount of money that I was bringing in per year, I was a very, very well compensated technician.
Yeah. 100%.
I was actually costing the company money with my the technician role.
Right.
So, okay, cool. Let's start building some systems and processes here. Let's start giving our technicians some training and hey, when you get to this kind of vehicle, this is exactly what needs to be done. Let's document this. Let's make videos on it. And when guys come in, start having an onboarding process that brings them through all of this. Start putting team leads in place, start putting installation managers in place. And this allowed me to slowly over time, again, I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, guess what? I'm not a technician anymore. I'm just going to go become CEO. Right? I had to slowly and surely back myself out of the technical role within the company so I could focus on the bigger, higher level stuff.
100%. Yeah. I think people need to hear that because, a lot of people do think that it's just a switch, oh, well, you know what? I'll just hire somebody. Well, then, okay, now you got to hire them, train them, develop them, teach them the systems and the processes, but also continue to do your job, right? So as you're bringing somebody on. So, I'm glad that you said that. It wasn't just a switch, that you flip. Now, the transition from you going from this industry to a totally different, and I don't want to say totally different, but a lot of differences.
Oh, it's different.
But there's a lot of similarities as well. And I'm sure that you're training from that, because I always look at, these different career paths that we do or different amounts of time that we spend. It's always an education. Just so you went to a different type of school, right? And whether it was corporate America, whether it was you were, in business for yourself. When did this transition happen and why did it happen?
Yeah, great question. So again, one of those things that happens slowly over time. I was not expecting it. So I started doing the work that I told you about before. I start working with Ryan. He starts saying, hey, you got to go do this, you got to do this. So I start writing the book. I start the podcast. I start, speaking from stage. I start establishing myself as the authority. And as I'm going through and doing this work, I get noticed by a lot of people becoming the authority. A lot of people start reaching out to me and saying, hey, Tom, how do I do this? How would you do this? And I started helping people for free.
Yeah.
And it felt really good to help people.
Yeah.
Like really good. Like, and I'm sure you're aware of this. Okay.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
There's a lot of value there to just you end the day and you're like, man, I just helped that dude either get out of debt. I helped that dude, start another company. I helped this guy X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It felt great. Right. And now I've got people who are reaching out to me who want to work with me.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily the case with my existing client base.
Yeah.
Because some of the clients we were working with were mandated by the federal government to utilize my services.
Right.
So whether they wanted me there or not, I had to show up. And several of them were very vocal about letting us know that we weren't welcome, even though we had to be there.
Right.
Okay, so big difference. And also, very transactional relationship too. Hey, you're coming in tomorrow, 12 o'clock, you'll be here for 2 hours and see you later.
Boom.
I wasn't building any true relationships. I wasn't breaking bread with these people. They weren't becoming my family of choice.
Yeah.
Right. So now I start helping these people, and we start to build real relationships outside of just the transaction of business.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to see these people grow and scale, and it starts rubbing off not only on themselves, but their team members, their family, their children. And it's a great feeling. So I'm a firm believer that when you least expect good things to happen and pop into your life, it's usually when they do.
Yeah, 100%. When you're not looking for them, it's just like when you're not looking for love, right? When you're not looking for love, boom, you know what I mean? He or she shows up, it's all over with, you know, and it really is the same in business, you know, but I think that you're right. I think, you know, when you really can help a lot of other people, and think about what you just said, and I don't think people really realize what you said. You were doing things for free. You weren't looking for anything in return. Because a lot of people have this misconception about coaches in general, that we're, you know, always looking for the cash. And a majority, I would say 80% of our job is service. Because we're constantly putting out, whether it's content, like you said, speaking on stage, writing a book, being the authority, right, as a coach, but all of a sudden, boom, you're helping people change their lives. There's nothing better than that. You know, you can't put a price tag on that. Now, so you were doing well with this. How then all of a sudden we made the change to now you do get paid to do this. Now all of a sudden you are getting the best of both worlds. You're helping people, but also you're being compensated and rewarded for it. When did all this take place? When, I mean, you left a pretty awesome opportunity, a good business that you were running. I mean, a successful business, to follow something that it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah. So you just said it right there. I left something that was good.
Yeah.
That was the problem. I'll get into that in a second. Let me backtrack here. I'm working one-to-one with Ryan. Okay. And I say to him about a couple months into working with him, I'm like, hey, you don't really have any people on your team right now who are coaching for you. I see your organization's growing. If the opportunity ever arises, I'd like to be one of the people who you choose, and I'll be willing to go out here and help your people. I think I can do a pretty damn good job of it. Cool. So this is like sales 101, by the way, people. I planted the seed. Okay.
Right.
Seed,
exactly.
And this is, I think, July of 2019. October of 2019, he calls me up and he's like, hey, you still want to do this? I said, yeah, I still want to do it. He goes, cool. I got 2 clients for you. Here they are. So,
nice.
Yeah, like zero training, just, hey, man, I'm really busy. You got to go handle this. And that was it. I kickstarted. I had 2 clients I was working with. They both have come from industries I had zero experience with. And to be quite frank with you, I was scared shitless. I was like, how am I going to help these 2 women?
Yeah.
You know, one of them is an industrial building supplies, owns a massive company, a company bigger than mine at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to help that? And the other woman owns an insurance brokerage with her husband.
Yeah.
2 industries I have zero experience in. So at the end of the day, it's funny, a little side note here, and I'm sure you're fully aware of this. Business is business.
Yeah.
These 2 businesses in completely different verticals than I was in, and they were facing the same damn problems that I had faced throughout my career.
Yep.
Right. So fast forward, it is June 2020. COVID has got the whole world, you know, funky. And I decided, you know what, man, I was one of those people who basically took my foot off the gas and sat on the couch and had a few too many Oreos and probably not, I don't even know how many extra Coronas, but more than I should have had.
Right.
And about 3 weeks into that vacation, I'll call it, I was like, you know, man, this has got to go. Like, it's just not in me. I have 2 choices here. I can either come out in the backside of COVID worse, heavier, mental issues, whatever the case may be, or I can take this time, because we've given an opportunity and a gift right here. I can take this extra time and I can put that effort and energy into myself. So that's what I chose to do. And I decided to take this 75 hard. It was May 6th, 2020. And 3 days into it, I basically got hit by a lightning bolt of reality. I'm big on core values. That's what my book's about. And one of my personal core values is I refuse to be average. And the reason I brought up good before, average equals good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay? So 100%. I realized I've got this business, this average business. I've got an average relationship with my business partner. I've got average relationships with friends and family who are local to me at that time. I've got this average home, 2 average cars in the driveway. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is against what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be in a position where my business was pretty successful, right? And I said, all right, this is good. I make good money here. I don't make great money here. I built the business. It's good. It's not great. My team is good.
Right.
They're not great. So you know what? I'm going to offer my business partner, buy me out. I'm going to sell my house. My wife's on board too, by the way. Thank God. Because that would have been a really awkward conversation. And we decided to basically sell everything and start over fresh in Texas.
Yeah.
So we put my house on the market. 48 hours after putting the house on the market, we sold it to a cash buyer for $35,000 over asking price. So I mean, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. We basically put the ball in motion, and it was September of 2020. We moved down to Texas, and my intention was never to come and become a full-blown team member here at Breakthrough Academy.
Right.
I came down here, and within a week of coming down here, I had contacted an attorney and fired up a new LLC in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Right. So cool. It's building time again. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I guess 3, 4, 5 weeks later, Ryan reaches out to me again. Funny, October again. It's a year later, and says,
right.
Hey, I know you're local now. You want to come work with me? I was like, wow, man, I got to make a decision here.
Yeah.
I just fired up this new company. I took some EIDL money and started investing it into this company so I could build it very rapidly because I had the cash at that point. And like, what am I going to do? Like, I just dumped money into this branding, website, marketing, back-end work, all the crap that you need to make a business function, operate well from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I almost don't want to give up on that. But I also realized that, and to be very clear and transparent here, I was building my own coaching and mastermind program.
Yeah.
Okay. I can own this whole thing, and I'm going to have this piece of pie. Okay. Let's call it a cupcake, right? Or I could partner up with Ryan Stewman, who's got probably one of the biggest and best mastermind and coaching programs on the planet, right? And I could have a smaller piece of this ginormous pie, which is going to be a hell of a lot bigger than the cupcake that I'm going to own.
Right.
So, all right, cool. Ryan, listen, dude, you're a good buddy of mine. I've known you for a couple of years. We've worked closely together. I've been over your house, the whole 9 yards. Let's sit down and have a conversation of what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ruin a good relationship already either, right? Because sometimes, let's just be clear and transparent. In business, you get in bed with the wrong person, right? Or someone who's a friend or a family member, and it can go south and sideways real fast.
Yeah, real fast.
Yeah. So like, hey man, I'm already a coach in your Apex Executives program. I pull in 6 figures plus a year from that alone. Right? I'm not looking to burn that to the ground. So how do we get together here and kind of test the waters before we go full bore into this together? So I said to him, I was like, look, man, I'll start November 1st, 2020. I'll give you until December 31st. We're going to date for 2 months. And if it goes well, then we can have a conversation and see what we're going to do with this. If it doesn't go well, we kind of take a step back and we go back to where we were.
Yeah.
And that's what we agreed upon, and that's what we did. So here we are. What are we at now? We're in October of 2021. So November 1st is going to be a full year. So it went well, and I think it went well is an understatement. It went extremely well for both of us.
Yeah, nice.
So, we both found a place. We work well together, but it's cool. I feel as if I'm in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, 100%. And, I guess, maybe we should probably fill in everybody that's listening to, who Ryan is for a minute, and really kind of what he built even before you got there, and then what you guys have built over the last year, because I've been following Ryan for a minute now. We have mutual friends, and I've even seen, when he was at the beginning, right? I think his first fly-in was like 5 people or something like that in Texas. Like, I remember him posting about it. Kind of elaborate, I guess, and tell everybody that's listening, kind of who is Ryan and what he built, prior to you getting there.
Sure. So Ryan's alter ego is the hardcore closer, and he's just been known as a sales expert, a little rough around the edges, which is kind of funny coming from a guy who was born and raised in New York. But yeah, he's just been a complete savage at what he's done. And one of the things that inspired me the most about Ryan Stewman is this. Okay, not a lot of people know this. Ryan and I are 7 days apart.
Yeah.
Born the same year, same month, literally 7 days apart. I grew up in middle-class America with not too many bumps and bruises on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay, this dude was dragged through the mud. Okay,
Yeah.
real rough upbringing, hanging around the wrong people, did 2 stints in prison, right? And when I had met him, and this is going back years ago, when I had met him, he had multiple businesses, owned multiple properties, uh, more streams of revenue coming in he knew what to do with, driving all the nicest, fanciest cars you could possibly dream of, gorgeous house, gorgeous wife, gorgeous kids. And I think at that point in time, he was on his 13th or 14th published book.
Yeah.
I said to myself, what the hell's wrong with me?
Right.
Seriously, like here's this guy who's 7 days older than me.
Yeah.
Who lost several years due to prison and growing up the wrong way, which he was just dealt some shitty cards on the way up, right?
Yeah.
And he's accomplished lifetimes more worth of work than I have. What's my excuse?
Right.
And I use that as something to inspire myself to get out there and go do more.
100%. 100%. And what is it about, I guess, high achievers in that regard? Because there's one common thing about high achievers and peak performers that I've experienced is they're always looking to kind of attach themselves and surround themselves with bigger, better, faster. You know what I mean? Like it's these athletes, it's the Michael Jordans and the Kobe's, like they're always playing with just the hardcore people.
Yeah.
In that regards, what kind of attracted you, I guess, to that? I mean, was it you just leveling yourself up? Was it you saying, hey, this guy, he's the same age as I am and he's doing this? Fuck that. I can do more. I can do this. I can do, you know what I mean? Like, is that what it was? Or
yeah, it was a lot of that. It was like, hey, I'm definitely playing at the wrong level here. I know I'm capable of more. I haven't given life, business, anything my all. Right? I haven't played full out at anything. So why not get around other people where if you're going to come and play, that's the only thing that's acceptable.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you can't play at that level, you're not going to last long at the table.
Right. But not only that, like even if you attempt to play at that level and you go half of, I mean, think about what you were just talking about with Ryan, with some of his accomplishments that he's had. Half. That's still a hell of a lot of well-published books. That's still a lot of nice cars. It's, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of nice things that he can do. And I know he gives them back, a super ton as well, which, a lot of people in his position, they don't talk about enough, but I mean, they probably give back more than a lot of people make or spend, in their business or in their career.
Sure.
Where do you see the future in all of this, Thomas? I mean, obviously you've been doing successful things with Ryan. I know that you do have some of your other things going on, and talk to us a little bit about the Goon Squad, I guess a little bit, because I know that's coming up.
Yeah.
We had Mark on last week and he was talking a little bit about it. So I guess let's talk about that for a second. I'd like to hear, what you have to say about that.
So the Goon Squad all started as a spoof. We're all in Apex at this point in time. Believe it or not, every one of us who's in the Goon Squad, there's 6 of us. We're all Apex executive coaches at this point.
Yeah.
And we just all kind of clicked and got along. The common denominator is we all became clients of Ryan Stewman's at one point or another. And I moved down here, like I said, about a year ago to Dallas, Texas. And Mark is my personal trainer, by the way. So he's beating my ass every damn morning, Monday through Friday. Love you, Mark. And he comes out to me one day and he's like, hey, Chris Whitehead's going to throw a quick little meetup at the office a day next week. And he wants to know if me and you want to come in and speak to the group. Cool. No problem. Let's go ahead and do it. So me, Chris, another guy, Brian McKittrick, who's with us, and a handful of other people who are other Apex Entourage members who live locally showed up. And this wasn't anything we charging, not making any money. Again, we're just giving back. We're giving value. At this point, I had already written a book that was somewhat successful. Mark was writing his book. Chris was writing his book. And there was people in there who were at different levels of business that we could absolutely help.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get together. We're going to basically have some conversations, maybe have a couple of drinks at this shindig and help as many people as possible. And by the time that night was done, we all realized that we all kind of aligned and something just clicked.
Yeah.
Right. And we became a syndicate within a syndicate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we started a private Facebook chat called the Goon Squad, right? We kind of
Yep.
named that as a goof, right? A bunch of big goons just acting like
Right.
There's
Right.
a lot of fuckery that goes on in that group. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right. Right.
But there's also an immense amount of support amongst the six
Yeah.
members. It's kind of like having your own accountability group as well. If someone's
Yeah.
having a rough day or they come off with the wrong language when they
Yeah.
talk about something, you've got 5 other high-level business coaches in there who are going to chew
Yeah.
your ass.
Yeah. 100%.
It's a good thing. So we kind of one day we had this over Mark's house, I believe, for dinner. We're all kind of hanging out, and we said, hey, probably be a pretty cool thing if we put a real event together. And I don't know, a week later, we had an LLC formed and operating agreements in place and bank accounts. Quick action amongst a bunch of people who've done this several times in their life.
Right.
And
right.
Here we go. We got an event coming up, so it's pretty cool. We actually just rescheduled it. It was going to be October 22nd of this year, and we're going to reschedule it to the month of January 2022. And we're actually going to do a collaboration with Ryan on it. So it's going to be
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be called Apex Live Goon Squad Edition. So
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be here. We're going to have probably 300-400 people at that event, and it's going to be pretty wild. We're looking forward to it.
Well, and you guys got a chance to, and you hate to use the term click, click inside of a click. But, when you have that many people get together, you're always going to have, people that kind of run with each other. But, as high level execs, in that have built multiple businesses, it's just fantastic to me that even people at your caliber love to hang with other people that are maybe better than them, or that maybe will up their game, will bring their level up, because I got to believe with the Goon Squad that everybody has their specific piece and their role, I guess, in your squad, in your team. I know I have a couple of groups of people like that we can have a conversation that there's going to be a lot of people that they won't get, like, yes. What are these guys even talking about? And yes, some fuckery that goes around with that in razzing, because that's important. I'm a former athlete. I'm sure that, a lot of the guys and gals that are competitive and that are high performers.
Sure.
There is an element of that to where I guess it's almost like, in sports, you will call out a team member that did not do what their job was, and you will hold them accountable. And it doesn't mean that you're the boss. It doesn't mean that it's your ego. It's, we need to win the game, right? And you missed that play. Is that kind of what you find in that group? I mean, is it a level that keeps taking you guys up a notch?
Yeah, and listen, we've been together now about a year. And I'd say every week, every month that passes in that group, the conversation does become, the wins do get bigger and better. Listen, you've probably experienced this too, Clinton, and I'm not saying this from a cocky perspective by no means. There comes a point in time in your career where you're winning so damn much, you can't share it all with the outside world because they're going to think you're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
And I can go in there and 100% share every win with these folks, and they get
it. Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you this just blows my mind. I was on a phone call. I'm not going to mention who it was. I was on the phone with one of them earlier today. In the last 12 days, sold $600,000 of revenue for 2022 and packed out one of his coaching platforms.
Wow.
So if that doesn't inspire you, you don't have a pulse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now I look at it, I'm like, well, damn, like what am I going to do to drive my team here at Break Free Academy to go push those numbers in 12 days?
Right.
So cool.
Yeah.
So I know that he can do it. That means that I can do it, or it can help guide and coach my own internal team to go do it.
Well, and not only that is like, when you even talk about those type of numbers, people always think when you're talking revenue, you're talking money. Like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. So, wow, you could buy this. No, it's just the number of the game, right? When you're talking revenue, that's awesome. But what it really means is what it really equates to is that how many people did you help? Because just like what we were speaking at the beginning, when you're winning in the coaching world or anything that really helps people or businesses grow and become better,
Mhm.
that's what you're doing. It's just, sure, you get compensated for it, but you think a doctor is really going, you know what, I'd make more on this surgery, so maybe I'll just, let me bump this other one to maybe somebody else. They don't do that. They they make decisions on actually helping people, and it's tough sometimes to understand. So it's nice that you said that you can have that conversation with this group of guys. They're all guys, right? I mean, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
the Goon Squad, that you can have that conversation. Now, for you, I guess, with your business or even with Ryan, I mean, kind of where do you see the future? I mean, what are we looking at the next, well, we'll go 5 years. I think 10 years is just way too long to think about right now. But I
Mhm.
mean, 5 years from now, I mean, where do you see all of this?
It's a great question. And I'm super transparent here. Okay. So every time that I've gone to work for somebody else, because listen, after 23 years of running my own companies, never in a million years would I think I'd come and work for somebody. Right now, the way that I have it set up over here is like I don't really have to report to anybody. I don't punch a clock because if that was
Right,
the case, I just wouldn't be here.
right.
Um, but history tells me that I'm good for 3 years when I work for somebody else.
Yeah,
Okay. I definitely feel different about this relationship with Ryan.
yeah,
Him and I have been together longer than 3 years already, just not with him being CEO and me being COO.
right.
Um, with that being said, I mean, we've already made some massive leaps and jumps in the almost 12 months that I'm here. Um, some of the numbers are just staggering of the amount of people that we've impacted in that short period of time.
Yeah,
And we're in the mode right now of scaling the internal team. Just like you said before, the more team members that I can bring in to get skilled up, the more people I can go out there and impact.
yeah,
Right. So I have exact numbers, but I'm not going to share them with you because they're
right.
proprietary at this point.
Sure.
But we have some big stuff in play for the year of 2022.
Nice.
We took our Apex Executives program, which is our top tier coaching package. Okay, it ranges between $50,000 and $60,000 a year, depending on how you pay it. Right. We went from about, I think it was 48 or 50 people at the end of 2020, and we hit 150 members by June of 2021.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was some major growth, and that's just one of the platforms that we have. We have 3 levels of our program.
Right.
So our goal there, we want to hit about 300 people in that group, and pretty much put a
Nice.
cap on it. We don't want it to get too big.
Right. Too large. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to the lower levels of our program, I don't say lower levels in a bad way, by no means, because that's where I started. That's where I started to get good.
Yeah.
We have some other goals set in place, but the other cool things are just other businesses, other opportunities that Ryan and I are putting together. We've got an event company we put together. We run so many damn events over here that it makes sense for us to go get our own venue.
Nice.
So we're working on that now, going out and finding the right place. And Ryan will back me up on this. I don't know if you've ever thrown an event for yourself, okay? But dealing with hotels, I think I'm going to go to the dentist to get my teeth drilled with no Novocaine.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they can't give you an exact price until after the event is over.
Right. I know. That's so screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, so you guys are looking then to create your own revenue. Now, looking to then rent this out to other speakers and events as well, then,
Yeah,
or just for Break Free Academy?
Both. So
Okay.
listen, we have at minimum one event per month.
Yeah.
We call it Flying Friday. It's our Apex Executive clients. They come in once a month. It's either 1 or 2 day event. Okay.
Yeah.
Our level 2 clients, they come in quarterly. Plus, we have
Yeah.
all other kinds of events throughout the year. We have Apex Lives, we have Goon Squad Lives, we've got $1 Million Mastermind, which is our biggest event, which is always held offsite at a big venue. But this gives us the ability to have our own venue for our own events, right? Start
Nice.
building up a team to run that venue with us. So have the right people in place, hire the AV guys, have all of our own AV equipment so we don't have to rent any of that crap ever again and pay stupid money for it.
Oh, yeah.
Bring in our own food and not have to pay the hotel $96 for a gallon of coffee.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same point in time, we have so many high-level clients who have their own masterminds, coaching, speaking engagements, their own events they want to put together. And we've had almost now for the past year, I'd say on a weekly basis, we have people asking us to help them run their events.
Yeah.
Like we're not the best at it, but we're pretty damn good.
Right.
Right. So if I could take my team and start skilling up some other people, right, duplicate, clone, scale that event venue, then we have this other massive business that's just in its infancy right now. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there, to the point where Ryan and I have JV'd on that venture as well. So, there's interest beyond to just, hey, let's go make some money over here. It's an area where I can go and I can build some real wealth and legacy for my family.
Well, but not only that, is that the impact that you can have on the experience of people you're in control of. And that's powerful, because if you control the venue, how the venue's done, the systematic, the process, the procedures, it's the experience for people. When you pay big money to go to an event, like, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm snagging anything I can, like a shirt, merchandise. I'm like, hey, I paid thousands of dollars to go to this event. You know what I mean? Like, bring it home. You're able to do that with owning and providing that. That's a powerful move. That's awesome. That's great. What about just for yourself? I mean, I guess, forget Ryan for a second. Let's put Stuman and Break Free Academy, even the Goon Squad, on the side. I mean, do you feel that you're ever going to do anything other than that part of your career? I mean, are there other things that you want to kind of pursue privately?
Yeah, there's always stuff that's going on the back end. I'm fortunate at this point in time. I'm an investor as well. I've got money into franchises. I've got money into other businesses. I've got money into real estate.
Nice.
I'd like to continue building up the real estate portfolio, get heavily involved in short-term rentals. We got a lot of people in our network who are successful with that. So it's kind of like me having access to the coach without having to pay for the coach.
Right.
My wife, she's become an entrepreneur through this whole process. I mean, her and I have been together for 21 years. She's been hanging around with me that long, and she still doesn't hate me, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some good things have come out of it, and she picks up on things as well. And she started her own business. She became a certified yoga instructor about a year ago. And
wow, that's awesome.
Her exact trade, so I have kids, by the way. I've got my oldest is 7, and I have twins who are 5.
Wow.
When my twins were born, my wife basically said, "Hey, I got 2 choices here. I can either stop working completely and take care of the kids, or I'm going to go to work, and whatever money I'm going to make it work. It's going to go right to someone who's going to take care of our kids." I said, you can stop working and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we've done. But she gave up her career. She was a school psychologist by trade, my wife.
Wow.
And still loves kids and wants to basically kind of do what I did when I was younger. I wanted to put car audio together because I love the trades and I love music. Well, my wife wants to put a yoga school together to focus on training kids in yoga and all the benefits for it. So there's some opportunity there for us.
And that's pretty niche, and so important. I mean, not only the benefits from yoga, but for kids. I mean, my daughter does a little bit of yoga and a little meditation, from me jamming it, down her throat a little bit, but she understands the benefits from it. And it's just so powerful, especially for kids that, anything with their education, and controlling, breathing and obviously temperament and, the whole 9 yards, which is, that's powerful. Wow. That's interesting, man. Well, look, I know you got a lot of dynamics going on, and I know you got a lot of things coming up in the future. For our listeners, for the people that are listening, I guess I got a 2-part question for you, and we'll kind of leave them with this, is that what advice do you have for somebody personally that could be listening right now? Maybe they're stuck, maybe their, ego's in the way, whatever the case may be, some of the things that we've talked about today. And then for business owners, kind of the same question. What is the best piece of advice that, in your experience, that you can give to that individual out there and that business owner as well?
I want to give the same piece of advice to both people because I think it's that important. This is an area that I failed in for many, 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 many years. I put everybody and everything first in my life in the past. Put my business first. I put other people first. Put employees first. And I became a complete disaster, right? Overweight, drinking too much, not taking care of myself at all, diverticulitis, just going down the wrong path. Oh, I mean, I was 315 pounds at my max. I'm a big guy to begin with,
Wow.
but 315 on my frame was too much.
Yeah.
When I started focusing on me first, when I actually became selfish, and it sounds counterintuitive, when I became selfish, that's when shit got good.
Yeah.
My relationships with other people got better. I wasn't a grumpy prick 9 times out of 10. Seriously. Like,
Yeah.
I always had an attitude, a chip on my shoulder. And most people are like, he's just a grumpy New Yorker. Well, I was that guy.
Yeah.
Start practicing gratitude in the morning. So I've built and put a very structured morning routine together that I follow every single day.
Yep.
And that morning routine is literally me being selfish and taking care of myself first.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, practice gratitude. I actually take a shower, stretch in the shower, work on myself there a little bit, think a bit. And then I have about a 20 to 25-minute drive to the gym. During that drive to the gym, I'm listening to something that's positive, whether it's a podcast from someone like yourself or an audiobook. And I usually, by the way, here's a hack with audiobooks, 1.5x or 2x on the speed.
That's right.
You're going to rip through them real quick.
That's right. Yeah.
From there, I go to the gym. I get, a good hour to hour and a half workout in. And then on the way home, again, more content from the book or the podcast. And then I intentionally leave enough time in the morning, because I'm up at 5 a.m. when I start all this. I leave enough time in the morning to pour back into my family before I really start my day.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a cup of
100%.
coffee on the couch with my wife. It's me. I've got young kids still. They're not all in school. They go in later. So I'll spend some time in the morning with them on the couch. I'll sit next to them and pet the dog and talk to them and maybe watch a quick little TV show or something with them. But by doing this, I'm pouring into my family first. I'm pouring into me first. So even when I get into the office, if shit hits the fan first thing on a Monday morning and I have to stay here until 10 o'clock at night, which, by the way, never happens, I've already taken care of what's most important.
Yeah.
So if you can reprioritize that shit and start taking care of you, be a selfish prick. I'm giving you the okay to be selfish.
Yeah.
And then take care of everything else you need to take care of. I guarantee your life will become better.
Why do you think, is it because we're taught to give so much to others and, it's put your mask on. I mean, even the airports, right? Put your mask on first. I always thought that was the most stupidest asinine thing. I'm like, my daughter and my wife sitting right there. You better believe I'm going to get their mask on first and to do that. But I think we're taught from a very young age that you give, and it is a selfish thing. But you're right. I mean, I didn't really start kicking my own ass until I was like, fuck that, fuck everybody else. Like, because I was the giver. Like, I've always been the giver, but since I've started doing that and being selfish with my body and my physical health, selfish with my mental health, with my emotional health as well, things got better. Why is
that? It's a good question. Again, it's counterintuitive from what society tells us. I think, and it's a little cliche, okay, but it is what it is. You have to go and you got to fill your own cup up. When you filled your own cup up, you can then show up to others and give more to them.
Yeah, 100%.
If your cup is empty, you can't give your best to your wife. If your cup is empty, you can't give the best to your coaching clients.
Yeah.
But if you've taken care of you, if you're fulfilled, if you're grateful, then you can give more than anyone could ever expect.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. So awesome. And people need to hear that. And people need to act on it because there's, especially parents out there, especially, husbands, wives, with kids, especially, I know tons of moms that are my clients that are like, they don't care about themselves until their kids are, 13, 14 years old. And, sometimes that's too late to start focusing on your physical health. I hate to say that, but you should be, as soon as you have those kids, look, you got to take care of them. Sure. But, that was, a lesson that I had to learn, with my wife when she was going through, my daughter being born and all that. It was like, she was doing everything like Superwoman. Right. And I'm like, I'm the asshole. So I'm like, yeah, come on. You stay home with the kid, you know, how hard can it be? You know, and you're just like, and you don't really realize it. Well, man, I really appreciate you being on today's call, man. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Tons of nuggets. I can't wait to rewatch this. I always do on every episode and go back and take all my notes. And I think I gain probably the most out of everybody on my podcast because I get to ask the questions. You know, these are all.
Don't give away the secret there. Hey.
Yeah. I don't care. You know
you.
me. I don't care. But I'm going to have you hang around for a minute. I'm going to let everybody else off the line. Everybody that was listening, man, if you love this, obviously you've seen, you know, here at the bottom of the screen, do I have this right, Thomas?
Yep.
I got your, you know, the proper website, Instagram, Facebook. They can find you there. Awesome.
That's great.
Guys, if you like this podcast, share it. You know what to do. Leave a review, okay? Give those stars. Do what you got to do. Share it, comment, post, like, do what you got to do. Thank you so much. As always, provoke positive change in people. And then, of course, your peak performance as well. We'll talk soon.